The orange glow of distant suns illuminated the command deck as Admiral June stared out at the starfield. His clawed fingers tapped restlessly on the arm of his chair. The Galactic Council ship hung in orbit above Terrace 3, one of the few remaining neutral zones in a galaxy torn apart by war. "Sir, the latest casualty reports," said Lieutenant Hannah, placing a datapad beside him. June glanced at the numbers and closed his eyes briefly. 3 more systems lost to the Vrexian Imperium this month alone. The war had stretched on for 23 years now, and with each passing cycle, the Council's resources dwindled while the Vrexians seemed only to grow stronger. "They're pushing through the Cantori sector now," Hannah continued. "If they take control of those shipping lanes." "I know what happens next," June interrupted. The Vrexian strategy was brutally simple: cut supply lines, isolate systems, then conquer them one by one. Efficient and ruthless. A soft chime interrupted their conversation. Commander Sun's voice came through the calm system. "Admiral, sensors have detected an unknown vessel approaching from Sector 7. June straightened in his chair. "Vrexian scout?" "Negative, sir. The energy signature doesn't match any known species in our database." Within minutes, June and his senior staff gathered in the tactical room. The holographic display showed a peculiar ship, roughly cylindrical with protruding modules that resembled wings or fins. It moved with purpose, not the aggressive stance of a Vrexian warship, but not the characteristic caution of Council vessels either. "They're transmitting on standard frequencies," Sun reported. "Audio and visual." "Let's see them," ordered June. The holographic display shifted to show a bipedal being with pale skin and dark hair. The alien wore a simple dark uniform with minimal markings. "This is Captain Park of the Earthship Pathfinder. We come in peace and seek dialogue with your people." June exchanged glances with his officers. "Earth?" This was a species unknown to the Galactic Council. "I am Admiral June of the Galactic Council Vessel Guardian. Your species is unfamiliar to us. How did you find our location?" Captain Park smiled. "We've been monitoring communications at the edge of this sector for some time. When we detected the conflict between your council and the Vrexian forces, we decided it was time to make formal contact. After brief discussions, the human vessel was granted permission to dock with the Guardian. Security protocols were heightened, but initial scans showed the humans carried only standard sidearms, primitive energy weapons by Council standards. Captain Park was accompanied by 2 officers as they stepped aboard the Guardian. They seemed remarkably calm for beings making first contact. June led them to the diplomatic chamber where representatives from the 7 major Council species waited. "We've known about your war for nearly 2 years now," Park explained as they sat around the circular table. "Earth has been developing faster than light travel for only the past decade. We're new to galactic politics. Yet you chose to reveal yourselves now," noted Tay, the Liran representative. "Why?" "Observation suggests the Council is losing this war," Park stated plainly. "Humanity has an interest in preventing Vrexian expansion toward our sector." The bluntness surprised June. Most species approached Council diplomacy with careful words and hidden meanings. "And what could your species offer?" asked Ben, the Morican trade minister. "Your technology appears limited." Captain Park smiled again. "We've focused our development in different areas than most. Our FTL drives may be newer than yours, but our weapons technology has followed a unique path." The meeting continued for hours, with the humans casually mentioning concepts like nuclear deterrence and mutually assured destruction that made several Council members shift uncomfortably. The discussions were interrupted by blaring alarms. Commander Sun rushed into the chamber. "Vrexian warship detected." It appeared suddenly from behind the moon. They must have been waiting. On the tactical display, a Vrexian Hunter-class ship approached rapidly, weapons charging. These surprise attacks had become a Vrexian tactic, hitting diplomatic gatherings to eliminate Council leadership. "Your ship can't outrun that class," Park observed calmly. "May we assist?" Before June could respond, the human tapped his wrist device. "Pathfinder, fire warning shot. Single pulse, minimum yield." The tiny human vessel, barely one-fifth the size of the Vrection warship, fired a concentrated beam of energy unlike anything June had ever seen. It struck the Vrection ship's forward section. There was no explosion, no dramatic fireball. The Vrection vessel simply came apart. Clean, precise, devastating. Silence fell over the diplomatic chamber as the council representatives stared at the display in shock. As I was saying, Captain Park continued as if nothing extraordinary had happened, humanity would like to discuss possible alliance terms. Admiral June looked at the human with new eyes. What kind of weapons do your people possess? That? Park glanced at the screen showing the disintegrated Vrection ship. That was just a point defense system. Our actual battleships rarely need to join fights like these. June felt a chill run through his body. The war had just changed. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council shimmered with light reflected from 1,000 crystal panels. Representatives from 17 species filled the chamber, their voices creating a hum of excitement. Today marked the formal acceptance of humanity into their ranks. High Chancellor Day stepped onto the central platform, his blue skin catching the light as he raised his forearms for silence. Today we welcome our newest allies in our struggle against the Vrection threat, he announced. May this union bring strength to us all. Captain Park stood beside the much taller Chancellor, looking small but somehow not diminished. When Park accepted the official seal of alliance, the chamber erupted in cheers. Most council species saw humans as saviors, a fresh ally in a war they were losing. Admiral June watched from the shadows at the back of the hall. The celebration felt premature to him. Something about humans unsettled him deeply. 3 days later, June sat in his private office aboard the Guardian, reviewing footage of the human ship destroying the Vrection vessel. The clean precision of the attack bothered him. Council weapons created explosions, heat, radiation. The human weapons simply unmade things. A soft chime announced Commander Sun's arrival. You asked for research on human military history, she said, placing a datapad on his desk. And? June asked. Sun hesitated. It's concerning, sir. These humans have fought each other constantly throughout their history. They've developed weapons specifically to kill their own kind. All species have civil conflicts, June said. Not like this. Sun activated the datapad. Images flashed across the screen, devastated cities, mushroom clouds, trenches filled with bodies. They call their largest conflicts world wars. They've nearly destroyed their own civilization multiple times. June studied the images with growing unease. And now they want to help us fight the Vrections? There's more, Sun said quietly. Their concept of warfare is fundamentally different from ours. Council species fight for territory, resources, or political advantage. We have rules, boundaries. And humans don't? They fight for total victory. Their history shows a pattern. When humans believe they face an existential threat, they fight until the enemy cannot fight back. Not just until they win, but until their opponent is incapable of future resistance. June leaned back in his chair. The Council military leadership doesn't share my concerns. They see only the advanced weapons, not the philosophy behind them. Perhaps they should listen to someone who has, Sun suggested. The next day, June attended the military planning session. A dozen council commanders surrounded a holographic display showing Vrection fleet movements. Among them stood 2 humans, Captain Park and a tall woman introduced as Admiral Yoon. The Vrections have broken through our defense line in the Orion Arm, said General Key, pointing to a cluster of red indicators. Their main fleet will reach the Terrace system within 30 days. We should retreat and regroup, suggested another commander. Retreat where? We're running out of space to give up, Key replied. Admiral Yoon had been silent until now. You're fighting defensively, she observed. Always reacting, never striking. Key bristled. We lack the numbers for offensive operations. Numbers aren't everything, Yoon said. She moved to the display and adjusted the view. Your ships group together in formal formations. You telegraph your movements.
The Vrexians know exactly where you'll be and when.
Traditional fleet formations maximize defensive capabilities, Key argued.
Yoon smiled slightly.
On Earth, we have a game called chess. Good players don't just protect their pieces, they create situations where every move their opponent makes leads to failure. Something in her tone made June step forward.
What exactly are you suggesting, Admiral? Let us help. 3 human battleships should be sufficient for a demonstration.
General Key looked skeptical.
3 ships? Against a Vrexian attack squadron?
That's all we need, Yoon replied confidently.
Later, as the meeting dispersed, June approached the human admiral. Your confidence borders on arrogance. Yoon studied him for a moment. You're different from the others. You're actually afraid of us. Not afraid. Cautious.
Smart, she said. Earth has a saying, si vis pacem, para bellum.
If you want peace, prepare for war. Humanity prepared for war for most of our existence. And what happens when humans go to war, Admiral? June asked quietly.
We end it, she replied simply.
One way or another.
Before June could respond, emergency alerts blared throughout the station.
Commander Sun's voice came over the communication system. Admiral June to Command Center immediately.
Vrexian forces have broken through at Sector 7.
They're heading for the Terrace colony. Yoon's expression hardened. It seems you'll get your demonstration sooner than expected.
As they hurried toward the command center, June caught sight of Captain Park speaking urgently into a communication device. Park's normally pleasant expression had vanished, replaced by something cold and focused. UES Thunder, Lightning, and Tempest, deploy immediately to Terrace.
Combat Protocol Echo 9 authorized. What is Echo 9? June asked as they entered the command center. Admiral Yoon just smiled. You wanted to know what happens when humans go to war? You're about to find out.
The tactical display showed the Vrexian attack force, 15 warships against the 3 human vessels now moving to intercept them. The council officers watched in tense silence, many expecting to witness the quick destruction of the human ships.
Admiral June didn't share their expectations. He watched with growing dread, remembering Commander Sun's words, when humans face an existential threat, they fight until the enemy cannot fight back. The battle was about to begin.
The command center of the Galactic Council station hummed with tense energy as officers gathered around the main tactical display. The holographic projection showed 3 small human vessels, the UES Thunder, Lightning, and Tempest, moving toward a Vrexian attack squadron that outnumbered them 5-1. Admiral June stood with his hands clasped behind his back, expression carefully neutral despite his inner concern. Beside him, human Admiral Yoon appeared completely relaxed, almost bored. Your ships should retreat, General Key said to Yoon. Those are Vrexian Razorclaws, heavy assault vessels.
15 of them.
I'm aware of the numbers, Yoon replied, not taking her eyes off the display.
Lieutenant Hannah approached with a datapad.
Sir, the colony on Terrace 4 has reported the first Vrexian landing parties.
They're requesting immediate assistance.
The Vrexian fleet moved into an attack formation, a classic pincer maneuver designed to trap enemies between their ships.
Council commanders had seen this tactic dozens of times before. It usually ended with the surrounded ships being destroyed one by one.
Your vessels are being surrounded, Commander Sun observed.
Admiral Yoon nodded. Yes, they are. What happened next would be discussed in Council military academies for decades to come.
Instead of retreating or forming a defensive position, the 3 human ships accelerated directly toward the center of the Vrexian formation. The Vrexian ships opened fire, energy beams cutting through space.
They're going to be torn apart, whispered General Key.
But the human ships moved in ways Council vessels simply couldn't, performing maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. They twisted, rolled, and changed direction at speeds that should have crushed any biological crew inside.
Inertial dampening technology, Yoon explained casually. Our scientists solved that problem centuries ago. The human battleships slipped through the gaps in the Vrexian formation, firing precise shots as they passed.
Each shot connected with critical systems, engines, weapon arrays, shield generators. 2 Vrection ships drifted powerless after just the first pass. "They're inside the formation now," said Commander Sun with growing excitement. The Vrection ships tried to reorient themselves, but they had never trained for an enemy that would charge directly into their midst. Their formation, designed to trap enemies outside, now worked against them as they struggled to target the human ships without hitting their own vessels. Admiral Yoon tapped her communication device. "Captain Min, you may deploy secondaries now." From each human battleship, dozens of smaller objects launched outward. At first, they appeared to be missiles, but then they changed course independently, moving with deliberate precision. "Drone fighters," Yoon explained. "Unmanned combat vehicles. Autonomous weapons?" June asked sharply. "Those were banned by Council Convention 300 years ago." Yoon raised an eyebrow. "We're not members of your council yet, just allies. And the Vrections certainly aren't following your conventions." The drone swarms surrounded individual Vrection ships, firing continuously at shield generators and weapon systems. Without needing to protect living pilots, they performed suicide runs when necessary, crashing into critical systems. Within minutes, half the Vrection fleet was disabled or destroyed. The remaining ships began to retreat, but the human vessels gave chase, methodically disabling engine systems to prevent escape. "They're not just winning," Commander Sun said quietly to June. "They're hunting." When the last Vrection ship had been neutralized, a strange silence fell over the command center. The council officers stared at the tactical display, trying to process what they had just witnessed. A battle that should have lasted hours, possibly days, had been resolved in under 20 minutes. "The Terrace colony reports that Vrection ground forces are surrendering," Lieutenant Hannah announced, breaking the silence. Admiral June turned to Yoon. "Your ships didn't just defeat them. They did it in a way that..." He struggled to find the right words. "In a way that they'll remember," Yoon finished for him. "That's the point. The Vrections need to understand that attacking human allies carries consequences." General Key approached them, his earlier skepticism replaced with poorly concealed excitement. "Admiral Yoon, your tactics were impressive. If we had a fleet of ships like yours..." "You'd still need humans to pilot them," Yoon interrupted. "The technology is only part of our advantage." As the council officers celebrated this unexpected victory, June noticed Captain Park entering the command center. The human captain was reviewing footage from the battle on a datapad, making notes as he walked. "Captain," June acknowledged him. "Congratulations on your victory." Park looked up, his expression serious. "This wasn't a victory, Admiral. It was a demonstration." "A demonstration of what?" "Of restraint." Park showed him the datapad. "These Vrection ships were destroyed or disabled using conventional weapons only. Our actual combat capabilities go much further." Footage played on the screen, a test firing of something called a spatial disruption cannon. In the video, a small moon simply ceased to exist, leaving nothing but floating debris. "Why are you showing me this?" June asked quietly. "Because you're the only one here who understands what introducing humans into this conflict really means," Park replied. "And when the council asks for more of our ships, which they will, they need someone who understands what they're really asking for." As if on cue, High Chancellor Day's voice came over the communication system, requesting an immediate meeting with the human representatives. The escalation had begun. The gleaming hull of the UES Thunder stretched before Admiral June as he walked down the docking tube. Unlike the flowing organic shapes of council vessels, human ships were all sharp angles and purposeful lines. Even their beauty was functional, he thought. 2 human guards stood at attention as the airlock opened. They wore simple dark uniforms with minimal insignia, so different from the ornate ceremonial armor Council security forces preferred. "Admiral June," a voice called from inside. "Welcome aboard." Captain Kim stood waiting, her posture perfect, her face a study in polite neutrality. By human standards she was probably middle-aged, though June found it difficult to gauge human years. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, revealing a thin scar that ran along her left temple.
Thank you for hosting me, Captain, June replied with a formal bow.
The Council appreciates this opportunity for closer coordination. What he didn't say was that the Council had ordered him to observe the humans up close, to learn their weaknesses, their limitations. One spectacular victory might be tactical genius or simple luck. The Council needed to know what these humans were truly capable of.
Let me show you to your quarters, Kim said. We've adjusted the environmental controls to suit your physiology. As they walked through the corridors, June noticed the efficiency of the ship's design. No wasted space, no decorative elements. Everything served a purpose. The crew they passed were focused, nodding respectfully at their captain but asking no questions about the alien admiral in their midst.
Your crew seems very disciplined, June observed. They understand what's at stake, Kim replied simply.
In the 3 weeks since the battle at Terrace, human influence had spread rapidly through Council space. 5 more human battleships had arrived, each taking position at critical defensive points. The Vrexians had pulled back, regrouping their forces.
For the first time in years, the Council had breathing room. June's quarters were small but comfortable. After settling in, he joined Captain Kim on the bridge, a circular room dominated by holographic displays showing surrounding space in vivid detail. We've received intelligence that the Vrexians are massing for a major offensive, Kim said without preamble.
Their main armada is moving toward the Lyra sector. June studied the tactical display. That's concerning. Lyra connects to 3 major populated systems.
More concerning is this, Kim highlighted a smaller fleet moving on a different vector.
A strike force heading for the Nari colony.
June felt his heart quicken.
Nari has no military value. It's a civilian research outpost with thousands of families.
Exactly, Kim's expression hardened.
They're going to make an example of it. Standard terror tactics. We should alert Council defense forces.
They'd never arrive in time, Kim interrupted.
But we can.
The Thunder's engines hummed to life as Kim issued orders. Within minutes, they were moving at full speed toward the Nari system, joined by the Lightning and Tempest.
3 ships against their strike force? June asked.
It will be enough, Kim replied with that same disturbing confidence he had seen in Admiral Yoon. They arrived at Nari 12 hours later, just as the Vrexian ships entered the system. 7 war vessels approached the small colony world, weapons already charging.
Open a channel, Kim ordered.
A Vrexian commander appeared on screen, reptilian features set in an expression of disdain.
Human vessel. This does not concern you. Leave now.
This colony is under our protection, Kim stated flatly.
Withdraw or be destroyed.
The Vrexian made a clicking sound that might have been laughter.
You are outnumbered.
We will deal with you after we're finished with the colony. The transmission ended abruptly. They've launched bombardment vessels, reported a young officer. Targeting civilian centers.
Kim's expression didn't change. Deploy the Aegis system. From beneath the Thunder, a satellite-like object launched, accelerating toward the colony.
It positioned itself in orbit and activated, creating a shimmering barrier around the planet.
What is that? June asked. Planetary shield, Kim answered.
It won't hold forever, but it gives us time. The Vrexian ships opened fire on the colony, but their energy weapons dissipated harmlessly against the shield.
Enraged, they turned their attention to the human vessels.
They're targeting us now, the tactical officer announced calmly.
Good, Kim replied. Lieutenant Han, prepare main batteries.
Full yield.
June noticed the bridge crew exchange glances. Captain, one officer said hesitantly, confirmation for full yield in a populated system?
Confirmed, Kim said firmly. They targeted civilians.
Protocol Delta applies.
June felt a chill at those words.
Protocol Delta?
Whatever it was, it made the human crew visibly tense. What are you planning? He asked Kim quietly. She met his gaze directly. Admiral June, what you're about to witness goes beyond Council warfare conventions. If you wish to register a formal protest, now is the time. Before June could respond, the tactical display lit up as the Vrection ships fired. Energy beams lanced toward the human vessels.
Deflectors holding, reported an officer. Minor damage to outer hull plating.
Target their lead vessel, Kim ordered.
Fire when ready.
The Thunder shuddered slightly as its main weapon discharged. What emerged wasn't an energy beam or a missile, but a distortion in space itself, a ripple that moved with terrible purpose toward the Vrection flagship. When it hit, the Vrection ship didn't explode. Instead, it seemed to fold in on itself, compressing into an impossibly small point before disappearing completely.
What was that?
June whispered, horror and awe mixing in his voice. Dimensional compression cannon, Kim replied matter-of-factly.
It creates a localized singularity.
As the remaining Vrection ships attempted to retreat, the Lightning and Tempest moved to intercept, firing similar weapons. Within minutes, the entire Vrection strike force had been erased from existence.
June stared at the now empty tactical display.
The Council has banned singularity weapons for 1,000 years. Kim turned to face him fully. Humanity never signed those bans, Admiral. And now you understand why we don't let our battleships join fights unless absolutely necessary. June realized with sudden clarity that the galaxy had reached a point of no return. Humanity had changed the rules of war forever. The Grand Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from 17 species sat in stunned silence as they watched footage from the Nari system battle. The dimensional compression weapon had left no debris, no radiation, just empty space where 7 Vrection warships had been.
Admiral June stood before them, his report complete. He had described everything he witnessed aboard the UES Thunder with clinical precision.
Now he awaited their response.
High Chancellor Day finally broke the silence. These weapons, they violate every warfare convention we've established over millennia.
Yet they saved the Nari colony, pointed out Minister Sue, her voice soft but firm. 10,000 lives were spared. The debate erupted then, voices rising as council members argued. Some called for immediately restricting human military actions.
Others insisted they needed human help more than ever.
The room split into factions, each shouting to be heard.
Admiral June watched silently.
This was exactly what he had feared, the council fragmenting just when unity was most needed. The chamber doors slid open, and conversation died as Captain Kim entered, flanked by 2 human officers. She walked to the center of the room with measured steps, her expression revealing nothing. The Vrection main armada has begun its retreat, she announced without preamble. They've abandoned their forward positions in the Lyra, Seti, and Orion sectors.
Murmurs spread through the chamber. After decades of relentless advance, the Vrections were pulling back.
This is wonderful news, Chancellor Day said cautiously. But why would they retreat so suddenly? Because of what happened at Nari, June answered, meeting Kim's gaze. They've realized what they're facing.
Kim nodded once. The human fleet has been tracking their movements.
They appear to be consolidating forces around their core systems. Then we've won, exclaimed General Key, rising from his seat.
We can reclaim our lost territories while they're in disarray.
No, Kim said firmly.
This isn't victory.
It's a pause before escalation.
A hush fell over the chamber again.
What do you mean, Captain? Asked Chancellor Day. The Vrections are a warrior culture. They don't accept defeat. They're regrouping to develop countermeasures against our weapons. Kim tapped a control on her wrist, and a new holographic display appeared, showing Vrection fleet movements. Our intelligence suggests they're preparing for a final, massive offensive. Commander Sun stepped forward from her position near the wall.
Captain Kim is correct.
Vrection communication intercepts indicate they're transferring resources from their entire empire for one decisive battle. Then we must prepare our defenses, General Key declared. With human weapons supporting our fleets. That would be a mistake, Kim interrupted.
Defensive positions would only prolong the conflict.
The Vrections need to understand that continued aggression has consequences.
Minister Sue leaned forward. What are you suggesting, Captain?
A preemptive strike at the heart of their empire.
Kim's voice remained calm, as if she were discussing the weather.
End the war before they can launch their offensive.
The chamber erupted again, voices raised in shock and protest. You speak of attacking their homeworlds? Chancellor Day asked incredulously. Such action has never been taken in Council history.
Because you've never had the capability, Kim replied simply.
We do.
Admiral June watched the faces around him: shock, fear, hope, calculation. The Council species had fought defensively for so long they couldn't conceive of taking the war to the enemy's doorstep.
The human fleet is already mobilizing, Kim continued. We'll strike at their staging areas first, then push toward their core systems. Without Council authorization? Chancellor Day's voice rose sharply. Kim's expression didn't change. We joined this alliance to protect humanity's interests. The Vrexians represent an existential threat. We will neutralize the threat. And if the Council formally objects? June asked quietly.
For the first time, Kim's composure slipped slightly, a flash of genuine regret crossing her face. Then we would find ourselves at an impasse, Admiral.
But humanity will not wait to be attacked.
In the silence that followed, Commander Sun approached June and whispered urgently in his ear.
His eyes widened at her report. Chancellor, members of the Council, June announced, we've just received word that the Vrexian High Command has sent a transmission, requesting terms of surrender. Gasps and exclamations filled the chamber. They wish to negotiate? Chancellor Day asked in disbelief. Yes, June confirmed. Their message specifically requests that human representatives not be present at the negotiations.
All eyes turned to Captain Kim, who allowed herself a small smile.
Fear is a powerful motivator. This is unprecedented, Chancellor Day said, stunned.
In 300 years of conflict, the Vrexians have never offered surrender.
Captain Kim nodded.
They understand now what they're facing. They've studied our history, just as we studied theirs. They know that humans don't fight for territory or resources or even revenge.
What do humans fight for, Captain? Asked Minister Su softly. Finality, Kim replied. When we go to war, we fight until there can be no more war.
As the Council members dispersed to prepare for peace negotiations, Admiral June walked with Captain Kim toward the docking bay where her shuttle waited.
Will your fleet stand down? He asked. For now, she answered honestly. But we'll be watching. If the Vrexians violate the terms, we won't ask permission next time. June nodded slowly.
The galaxy has changed. That's what humans do, Admiral, Kim said as she boarded her shuttle.
We change things.
As the small craft departed, June watched it disappear into the stars, understanding that the Council had gained both salvation and a terrible new awareness. For the love of all that's sacred, don't let the human battleships join this fight, unless you're prepared for how it will end.